everybody. Welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. Today we have Denyse Drummond-Dunn, and we're talking about her book, Winning Customer Centricity, and how you can put customers first. So welcome, Denyse.
Hi, CJ, and here's my book so everybody can see. It doesn't
Yay.
look like a business book.
It doesn't at all. Can you flip through it too? Because it has cartoons and
Yeah,
show us.
I made it on purpose so it doesn't look like a business book. I wanted to have something that was easy to read and
Yes.
fun to read.
I have to say that there's some joy about going to getting a book and finishing it in an hour or two. There's a tremendous joy in having that happen.
Well, the idea of my book is it takes a year to read. Or no, it doesn't take a year to read, but it has 50 chapters, and the idea is you read one 2-page chapter each week.
Yeah, I mean, it's the executing that's the part that you need to do, right? It's actually reading the chapter and then making it happen, right? Which involves a lot of discussions, talks, et cetera, which I know that's what you help your clients with. All right, so for people who are not familiar with the customer first strategy, first of all, I thought if you're not putting your customer first, then who are you putting? That was my first question. And what is a customer first strategy?
Okay, well, it's quite easy. A customer first strategy is as it sounds. It's all about putting the customer first. So it means thinking customer first in everything you do, thinking about what they would think about what you're doing, what you're advertising, what you're selling,
Mm-hmm.
etc., etc. I think a lot of companies, they think about the other four P's of marketing. They think about the pack, the price, the product, the promotion, and they don't think about the essential one, which is the P for people. Because
Mm,
think about it, if you don't know who you're selling to, then you're going to produce perhaps a great product, but it won't sell because it doesn't answer a consumer need.
right.
So this is why customer first strategy is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a couple of examples of things where companies get it wrong. One thing that really irritates me, and I'm sure it's happened to you, you buy a product, you open it, and you find the pack's only half full. Because what
Mm-hmm.
they've done is they've actually reduced the content, kept the price the same. So in fact, you're paying more because you're getting less for the same price. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not customer centric. So doing things that customers wouldn't like. And when we talk customers, it's you and me. I
Right.
mean, seems that business people take their customer, their consumer hats off when they get to the office. But if they think, would they like what they're doing? And if they wouldn't like it, why are they expecting their customers, their consumers to like it?
Right. And I think when you were providing that example, I'm like, what does she mean? And then I thought about, oh, I know. I've actually been to a grocery store and I bought a big bag of chips, right? And then literally the bag is this big and the chip is like a quarter way full of chips. And I thought, oh, that's what she means, that there's like literally, so I bought the bag of chips for, $2.50 before. $2.50, and then it comes back like there's half the amount that you would expect. It's not filled up to the top.
That's
Is that what you
exactly
mean?
it. That's
Okay.
exactly it. So things where I mean, I to be fair, I don't think customers all companies always want to cheat their customers, but sometimes they just find it easier to use the same machine and keep the pack the same, etc. They can do all of that. Just announce to the customer, put a flash on the pack
Mm-hmm.
saying now 200 grams instead of 250 or whatever it is. Just tell the consumer they are happy. They understand prices increase.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't like is getting the feeling of being cheated. I mean, none of us do.
Yes, absolutely. There's a vegetarian restaurant in our neighborhood and they use fresh ingredients. It's expensive to do, organic, fresh, all these different like humanely treated. So by the time you do that, it ends up being a pretty expensive product. But what they've been doing is my favorite Buddha bowl has like, it started off with a hefty Buddha bowl and then it's down to like a Buddha cup, it's like a small thing. And I kind of understand, but then I don't understand, right? Because I thought, well, these are just vegetables. Like, really? Like, if you're going to eat vegetarian, you're hungry anyways because it's hard to get full all the time. and you keep on shrinking down the bowl from a bowl to a Buddha cup, and actually the last time I went, I said I'm not going there anymore because and it's not cheap. It's like $17 for this cup of vegetables, and I thought, okay, I mean, you're forcing me to either not go there or like forcing me to go create this thing myself because for $17, that's a lot, not a lot of vegetable, even with the increase in price. But it's hard to convey. At the same time, it's always hard for them to convey because they would probably have a conversation like, we changed our manufacturer, or we can't find like the guy that used to do organic. We realized he wasn't really organic, so we had to go someplace. There's probably a long story behind
Mm,
it.
mm.
But maybe you think, well, that's no excuse. I don't know. It's hard, right? Because there's price competition is so hard on a lot of products. People expect to have the prices stay the same, even though inflation is going up. So,
Well, we do. I have to say, in the restaurant business, I think in the US they could reduce their portion size, but it's true on vegetarian, you need to eat
yes,
a lot. I'm
yes.
vegetarian too, so I know exactly what you
Yeah,
mean.
like I'm starving. Okay, so for people who actually do have a customer first strategy, what are the results that you see for people who have a customer first strategy? And what does that, I mean, I get that you want to be thinking about your business decisions and how that impacts and affects customers, but what else is it beyond that?
Well, it's obviously important. Everybody's talking about being customer centric, thinking about the customer first, but it is hard to do. It's hard to walk the talk because it means radical change for the whole organization. There's been a lot of research. I mean, Forrester, Gartner, Oracle, IBM, the list goes on and on. Everybody seems to be measuring it. A few statistics that really make certainly my clients, when I go in to talk about them first, about the topic, that makes them sit up and say, why aren't we doing it, is that companies that are customer first, they tend to grow 3 times faster than the S&P index
Hmm.
and a whopping 7 times faster than those companies that don't.
Hmm.
So they're
Okay.
also 60% more profitable. So my golly, who doesn't want to be profitable? As you say,
Right.
competition's getting tough these days, and it's hard to grow business. It's hard to grow it profitably. But consumers, yes, they are sensitive to price and size of portions and everything else. But what the research also found is that most of them, about 86%, actually said they're willing to pay more for good customer experience. So, in other words,
Mm-hmm.
companies that treat their customers well, that customers are prepared to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason not to do it. But yes, it's hard to do. And uh, the trouble is, if you don't do it, you'll likely lose your customers because customers, I think you and I, everybody listening, has stopped doing business with a company because they were dissatisfied, like opening a pack and finding it half full, or as you say, going to a restaurant and find minuscule portions for a hefty price. And you say, well, I'm not getting value for money. It
Right.
all comes back basically to value for money.
Mm.
So that is the thing
Yeah,
to
it's funny
think
because
about.
you're just as I was thinking about as you were describing it, I was thinking we have T-Mobile, which is a mobile service here, and and I feel like I got duped into doing this thing, and they ended up adding all these charges that I wasn't familiar with. So I called up and I was like, what you looped this into like this mysterious other charges, which I thought was something else, and they're like, no, it's because they had given me these iPads saying like these are virtually for free. Like the salesperson described it as like they're for free. All you have to do is, sign up for some lines and then, I don't even think he did that. He just said all you have to do is sign up these lines, but the lines won't even be, you don't even have to use the lines. Well, what he didn't explain fully is signing up to those lines costs like $20 each every month, which I didn't he didn't say in the lines. I
Uh,
said, are there any additional costs? And he's like, no, you get these for free and you just have eligible for these two lines. And then I come later, I found out that we spent like $600 more for these
oh,
two lines that have been in for a really long time. And it's hidden in these like other miscellaneous cost thing, which we didn't really check into because we just didn't check into it. So I called up and I said, I'm really upset about this because when it was explained to me, it was not explained that they're going to create these other lines and charge us for it. I said, so there's no money. And they said yes. And that wasn't true. So either the salesperson didn't understand or they did and they were trying to do me. Whatever. I called
Yeah.
and they're like, well, yeah, sorry. And I was like, well, I'm thinking of changing my service because I'm actually really unhappy. So let's just, pay off whatever those line to whatever cancel the service. But I'm very unhappy. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I've been a customer with you for like 5 years. And I thought, how much money you spend from a marketing standpoint? Then I'm thinking, how much money did it take for me to switch from AT&T to T-Mobile? And now this whole experience is making me want to switch. And I was talking to a girlfriend who uses Verizon, and she said, yeah, it's more expensive, but you get better service. And I thought, you know what? That's true. I get not only better coverage because T-Mobile's coverage is awful, but then also I get, better customer service. I mean, that person's the response was totally unacceptable from my perspective.
It definitely sounds like T-Mobile aren't customer centric, and you've just proven they will lose business one way or the other. Did you actually write anything on social media? Because that is the other risk, is that you don't just tell your girlfriend about it, but you start telling the world about these unhappy
Yeah. No,
things.
what's so funny is the reality is that if I do that, I could do that, but all of us are so busy. So I just think, oh, really? I don't want to spend my time and energy, sending negativity to the world. I'm like, not really. I'll just I'm just frustrated. I told them I was frustrated. They said, okay, too bad. And I was like, okay. And then I said, I think I'm going to leave. And they're like, okay, do you want us to they literally, I was like, I think I'm going to leave. And they said, okay, do you want to leave now? Because we can turn your account off now. And I was like, wow, it's good knowing you for the last 5 years.
They really value your loyalty, obviously.
Exactly. Okay, so this is,
Crazy.
and the sad thing is that we, between the two of us, we could probably come up with story after story and fill the 50 minutes of just stories of bad customer service. So how does someone get actually to a point of good customer service?
Well, it all
Or
starts
good,
obviously
yeah.
with the customer. So you've got to understand who you're selling to,
Mm-hmm.
why you're selling to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as the customer is concerned, you need to understand who you're targeting and then how you connect with them and how you get to understand them, because it all starts with understanding your customers. As I said, if you understand them, obviously this T-Mobile guy didn't understand you. I mean,
Right.
as you said, 5 years loyalty, and he just says, oh, we can cut you off immediately. So clearly they don't value your business.
Well, I think he
So
was trying to be customer friendly, right? Which is like, oh, are you happy? I'll cut you off right now. I'm like, okay.
maybe if that was your 10th time of calling, but maybe
Right.
the first time he should do something to try and keep you
Right,
in business.
exactly.
So obviously the company is the secondary, and T-Mobile, sorry guys, I mean, we're at you. But
Okay, so let me give you an example. So I work for reselling this product called Predictive Index, which is a behavioral assessment. All right, so you're saying I should understand who my customer target is, and the targets in terms of people who buy the product is generally CEOs or HR. Those are the two people who usually buy the product, and they're usually small to medium sized companies, with between
okay.
100 and 500 employees. So that's what I know. So then what do I do after this information if I understand my customer? So I know who my customers are. Now what?
Okay, so
Now what do I do?
well, the next area is that you're going to have to ignore some of them,
Okay.
because what you have to do, you can't just go after all the clients that could be interested or are interested in your business. You have to go after those that have the most value to your business. So you have to understand which of them are the most attractive to your business. In other words, most of the time we're looking at lifetime value. And then secondly, how easy they are to win for your business. So in your case, you know that the people that are interested in your what you have to offer are CEOs.
Hmm.
But you've already said it's not every CEO who could be interested. It's CEOs of certain size of companies. And you might then want to say, well, it's in certain geographies or maybe certain industries. It's not CEOs of every industry, it's CEOs of certain industries.
Okay, so let's
So
say I would say high tech is my industry, and and it's usually scenarios. I think what you're getting at is this is a high tech company that the kind of companies that are growing very quickly and actually need to get their people together and in alignment in order to grow with the growth. That's kind of the sweet spot.
okay, so those are the people you go after. So then what you need to know is you need to know how to connect with them. So if
Mm-hmm.
you understand them and you know who they are, you need to understand where they are. Is it geography? Are they on certain social media and not on others? Professional services and are often contacted through LinkedIn, for
Mm-hmm.
example.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's consumers, it might be Twitter or Facebook that is more important.
Right.
So you have to understand where they're spending their time and what sort of websites, where do they go looking for information? Because you need to be there where they are.
Right.
So whether it's advertising online or offline, you need to be where and when they are so that you can provide them again with value, but in this case, it will be valuable information. So the information they're looking for, if you know that they always go onto certain websites to get certain information, you can advertise that you have that information on those
Mm-hmm.
websites.
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes back to understanding where and when your customers are open to receiving your messages, not having your messages thrown. I mean, I think we all get in the old days, we used to get annoyed by TV advertising spots,
Right.
especially in the US, where they seem to take longer than the actual program. I never understood that.
Right.
But at least in Europe, they only come every 15 minutes, the ads, and it gives you time to go and make a cup of tea or something. But
Right.
you need to be able to connect with your consumers, but in a valuable way. So
Mm-hmm.
not interrupting them, but just making yourself available and saying, hey guys, I'm here. I've got that information you're looking for. And I probably have exactly the service you're looking for. So why not check me out?
Mm-hmm.
That's really, you're proposing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not so it's really become a pull push change in marketing. Before we would push our information out to the customer, now we make it available and they pull it to them when they need it. So
Mm-hmm.
we're going from a push mentality to a pull mentality. We put the control of everything, our businesses in fact, in the hands of our customers.
Okay, so let's
And in
say
fact,
that
we're
okay,
all happy.
let's say that I'm meeting you for the very first time. I found out that uh, let's say that we'll flip the you'll pretend to be me and I'll pretend to be my client. So let's say that these high tech folks join like there's this one big conference that they all go to, which relates to like I don't know. They all go to this high tech conference in Seattle, which is my target audience, and you see me and you know, when I used to work at Microsoft, you know, you'd have these kind of like you do a demo, people would come to the booth, you know, they'd like, what are you doing? And you show them the booth, and it's more like of a pushing. It's a little bit of a, they come to you to the booth, so they're coming toward you, and then you're like, hey, you know, tell me, you know, do you want to see a demo of Microsoft Excel? And then I go and do a demo, right? Um, and then now I was just at a big conference like that and so let's say I'm at a conference, I actually am in the right place, I've got the right people. So how would a customer first strategy look like? So you're me and you're trying to sell this business assessment. I'm a CEO of a startup. So how would you approach
Okay.
me?
So, Mrs. CEO, it's really interesting that you're in the tech business because I am too. Um, what are your biggest problems? What keeps you up at night these days? Because technology is changing so fast that it's hard to keep up. Do you have those sorts of problems?
Right. Yeah, I do, you know, because I'm growing so quickly. My company is growing so quickly, and I want to make sure I'm making the right hiring decisions. I'm literally repeating what this guy had said to me. He said my company is growing. Or I know. I'll pretend. I'll literally be a client that I met. He said, you know, we're going through a lot of transitions. We're going through a succession plan. And so I saw this tool and I'm wondering, is this something that could help with that? And then,
Yeah, well, you would. The idea, it's always back to understanding. So there I would reply and say, so what is it exactly about growing fast that's creating problems for you?
yeah, we're growing so quickly. We're trying to make sure that we're hiring the right people and, blah, 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 blah. And, uh, it seems like we don't have enough bandwidth to actually, we're growing so quickly, we can't even fill the spots quickly enough, especially in high tech, particularly with developers. We just can't find enough developers to actually fill the roles.
Okay, so then I would say, what is it about finding the people? Is it that you can't find the particular skills that you're looking for, or is it that you just can't reach the people to find out if they would be interested in your jobs?
Right.
You
Yeah.
see, you
Yeah.
you keep asking why, you keep asking to get what you're looking for is getting to the pain points.
Ah, okay.
Understanding customers is about understanding their pains and then either saying, well, I think that our service could really help you, or saying, well, actually, we don't work in that area. However, I do have some contacts, and if you allow me, I would love to help you by putting you in contact with a group that I know could service you perfectly.
Ah, okay, got it. So even in the case where you're like, you're no customer that I'm interested in, you basically are still interested in making sure that they're happy first. So even referring them to maybe your competitor or not competitor, but like associate that works in the space that they're interested in.
Because that relation, you're trying to build trust and relationship
Mm-hmm.
in every contact point. So whether it's face to face, whether it's online, offline, in print, television ads, whatever, you want to build a good relationship for the long term.
Right.
And so what you want to do is, okay, this person is maybe not your ideal client, but the next time he's in a conference or in a meeting and somebody mentions the sort of problems that you say you can help with, they'll say, well, I met somebody last month who would be perfect for you. Let me put you in touch.
Right. Right.
And when you come with that recommendation, that new contact is more likely to listen to you because they've been recommended by a friend or a colleague of theirs.
Right. Okay, so part of it is understanding in this customer first strategy, it's figuring out who your target audience is, what your target audience's pain points are, and speaking to those pain points. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then after that, you had said, you made a really interesting point. You said, well, so you said choosing a target audience based on what value I have. So my value would be helping hiring during a time of growth. And then figure out what the pain point is. And then you said translate business objectives into customer centric ones. So, what would be a customer centric business growth? Because usually we have like we're going to grow sales by X percent, but when I've been in companies, very few people have a customer centric goal unless they've had utter fails. You know what I mean? Like there was a time when this is embarrassing, but when I was at Microsoft, they found that there was this one feature that was it was mail merge when you do printing envelopes in Word, and that the product support costs were through the roof because everyone would call and need help with mail merge. So because the customer support costs were so high, we actually dug into it and fixed the problem, right? But if not, we wouldn't have necessarily. So it wasn't as if we had a customer centric goal. We had a goal to reduce our customer service costs because they were going through the roof. Which
Yeah.
seems to me to be like, okay, now that's a problem. But if you were to kind of say, let's have, a customer centric goal, that would have been taking place. It would have been a totally different kind of scenario.
Well, I mean, they did the right thing. People quite often don't like complaints, but complaints are gifts. You've just given a great example of how, if your customer hadn't called, you wouldn't have known what the problem
Right. We
is.
wouldn't have known that. Yeah.
So by getting the complaints, you can fix it for them.
Right.
And you've got happy customers.
Right.
So treat your complaints as gifts. Try and get as many as you can. I'm
Right.
not saying have bad products or services, but if there's anything wrong, you want to know about it.
Right.
And that reminds me, one of the things that I always check when I have a new client I'm going to see, I always look at their website. And that gives me a great idea of whether they're customer centric or not. I
Mm.
just look at their contact page. And some companies, you go onto their contact page, you will have an email address for different services you can write to. You'll get your postal address. You'll have maybe a chat comes up. You'll get telephone numbers. You'll get postal addresses. You will get all the different ways you can contact the company. So if I don't like calling on the phone, and a lot of us don't, then what you can do is write an email, or maybe you could do it by chat if the chat box pops up when you're on the website.
Mm.
If a company is not customer centric, what sort of thing are we going to find? Well, we're going to go to a contact page that, first of all, has a form to fill in. You're
Right.
going to fill in your name, your address, your telephone number. You might have to choose why you're contacting them. And what annoys me, and I'm sure most people listening, is they'll have a drop down menu and it never has the thing you want to call about
It's
or
other.
contact people
Right.
about. So
Right.
you're going to have to choose the best or other, and then you're going to have to explain why. And then you say submit, and it goes into hyperspace.
Right.
You don't know, has anybody received it?
Right.
Is somebody looking at it? And yes, I might get an automated reply saying, we have received your request and we're looking into it. And again, what really irritates me is we'll get back to you within 48 hours or 72 hours. Today, we're impatient.
Right.
I have to admit that quite often, if I get those sorts of emails, I immediately go onto Twitter and I will say, I'm frustrated. I've been trying to get hold of this company, and they say they're going to respond to me in the next 2 to 5 days, and I need an answer now. I can tell you, normally within even the worst companies, they don't like it being in public view. So within 10-15 minutes, if not sooner, somebody will contact you to take it offline, of course.
No, wait, wait. So wait. You put it on Twitter at the company's website, or where are you putting it on Twitter?
Well, I will go on and I will just find out what their Twitter handle is. And
Right.
if I don't, I will still mention, we talked about T-Mobile. I will say, T-Mobile, your customer service stinks. I've just been asked if I want to cancel my contract because I've got a problem. And that's all you have to do.
Oh, and then that is the best tip ever. So you basically go over to whatever their social media, a company's social media is, and say, I'm unhappy. And then do they delete your stuff afterwards, or like what happens? So in the case
Well,
that you did that.
I've got one great example. Luckily, it was after I left Nestle, but
Right.
people were complaining about some responses that Nestle were making to people's complaints
Right.
online.
Right.
And Nestle very arrogantly said, this is our Twitter or whatever. This is our account.
Right.
We can say what we like.
Oh,
And so, of course, everybody that saw this started saying, just a minute, we're spending our money with your products. Don't you think you should listen to us if we have a complaint? So
yeah.
what Nestle did is they deleted those comments.
Wow.
But unfortunately, nothing gets lost on the internet. Even though you delete it, in fact, as we know, it's still on your computer, it's still in the cloud, and somebody will have saved it. Somebody will be able to recover it. So don't delete bad comments, respond appropriately.
Oh
So
my
Nestle
goodness.
isn't being arrogant. Luckily, they have learned from that and now they do a better job. But it's just one example because I thought, my golly, I knew the company had problems in being customer centric,
Right.
but okay, it's a learning curve. And I think
Right.
all companies should be learning from their mistakes or hopefully the mistakes of others and deciding not to do the same
Wow,
mistake.
yeah, the social media thing adds a whole nother level, right? Whereas before I may have thought, oh, well, I'm not going to deal with it because it's too hard, right? But now I can just go to it's not that hard to go to the Nestle, find them on Twitter, and just say something like, these new chips or whatever, this new milk sucks. It's like it's not
Yeah.
that hard. And I think you're right. It's an opportunity for that company to reach back and go, okay, what can I do? And it's interesting because YouTube has that same phenomena, but for this YouTube video that we're going to post, I've had some people just go crazy, and I've seen times when people will say like negative things, and I'll say, yep, you're totally right. I wish I had fixed the sound.
Mm.
Here's the dilemma that I had, and here's the choice that I made. And then what happens is like 2 months later, I'll go like, I got another remark from another person. The sound really sucks. I'm like, absolutely. I've heard that before. Thank you. And then I've heard people like, they just are like, you are a blah, blah, blah. And they're like, judging me, pointing at me, saying that I'm like these negative things. And that's the part that I don't know. Like, okay, I can respond like, I used to respond like, oh, I'm sorry if if I did anything to offend you, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, well, actually, some of these people are mentally not well. Like they are they're what are considered trolls who are trying to get a rise out of you. So instead of most people would listen to that response and say, okay, she's apologized, I'm done. But instead they're like, oh, you're also these like 4 things that are awful. And then it's like, okay, I try to be calm. And then I was like, okay, now I just realized that this person is like looking for attention by being negative. So how does a company, like that's my case in YouTube, how does someone like Nestle deal with that? Like there's some, if I went to T-Mobile, that would be hopefully a reasonable response and an issue that I had. But then how do you deal with people who are just, they like to get a rise out of people? They're trolls. What would Nestle do in that case?
Well, unfortunately, you're right. A lot of people have nothing better to do than to criticize others. And I must admit, when I started my online business, I was a bit worried because you do open yourself up to criticism. Some is right, some is wrong. If it's right, thank the person and say, I'll try and do better next time.
Yeah,
Companies make mistakes just like people. And
right.
as long as they own up and say, yeah, we messed up, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to avoid it in the future, and thank you for your comment. But if this is somebody who's just looking for a fight, looking to be negative about it, then sometimes you can just ignore it.
Okay,
Because
so just do you keep it up there? Or, like, I think that I wasn't sure. So the question is, do you keep that up or do you delete it? If someone's kind of like ranting and it looks like they're mentally unwell, do you keep
yeah,
it up or do you delete it?
my recommendation would be keep it up. I've had this example where somebody really criticized me. And what I found amazing was other readers started responding to him. I didn't.
Right.
After my first thank you very much, yes, I do make mistakes occasionally, but I think that you are being very negative because I really try hard and I'm improving every day, etc.,
Right.
etc. And then other people that were reading said, hey, lay off. She's doing a great job. Okay, messed up once, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
And I found it was wonderful. So, as I said, nothing gets lost on the web. So I wouldn't delete it. I
Okay.
would I would respond politely once. If it's obviously somebody that's just looking for a fight, pick your battles. You
Right.
know,
Just ignore
don't,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
just
just it's hard though because I think that when you allow negativity to occur and people, it ends up being like, okay, I guess this is an unattended space. So I can't like this feels unsafe for me now because someone is not watching. Do you know when you have unmonitored chat areas or unmonitored communities? Then it feels kind of like that, and then I think, well, that doesn't seem right either because there's a sense of it's unsafe. So uh, I'm not sure. Fortunately, unfortunately, I did this video on Trump, and someone did a tarot card reading on Trump, and it was mixed, right? And actually, it was very accurate if you look at it. But anyhow, I did this video on Trump, and people were like just very angry, and then some people were like angry at the people. Like, so there were people who were like, why are you doing this? Why are people picking? You should not be picking on Trump. Okay, so there's this whole slew of things like that. And it wasn't as if we're picking cards, and the person interpreting is interpreting the way that he wants. But this person felt it was disrespectful or whatever. So then there was this, I don't like your video. Why? Because I don't like Trump, and that, like, why? Because Trump is blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, well, why do you think blah, 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 blah? And then I have these people who are commenting that are actually having an argument. And I thought, actually, this video is creating like a bunch of negativity with the people. So I just stopped all commenting altogether because
Yeah.
because I wanted to make sure that this video was safe. Like, people were safe, and it was getting to a point where people who were commenting were. It felt, to me, it's like, this just doesn't feel like a good, healthy community. So I'm just going to delete all comments. So I don't know. It's a hard thing online, because you'll either have, like, you don't want your brand to represent this kind of, okay, it's a free for all where everyone can come over and act uncivil. So that's
Yeah.
the other thing too. So I'm not sure about deleting, but I understand what you're saying too, because there
Yeah.
is an online record. But then I think, don't you have an obligation as the person who is holding, it's like when you have an online space, it's like a space that people can inhabit, right? And so if
Oh,
you
yes.
if you create a place where there are thugs with knives, like, you need to get rid of that space. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
I don't have an answer. I'm just asking.
Well, it's that's a very specific area, as you say. If it's a Facebook group or something like that, and if people come on and are just being negative, and as you said, you have to manage your reputation. So you don't want to be involved in that space. So it would be the same if you go to a club and there's always fighting, you end up not going there anymore.
Right.
So it's the same on Facebook. If there are some groups with that you find that sort of behavior, well, if it's your group, you could close it down and maybe start another one and then inform your followers that you've got this new one and the reason, again, being transparent, why you've closed that one down, and thank all the supporters that helped, but that it was becoming a negative environment that wasn't good for anyone,
Mm-hmm.
and that you will be setting up a new group and you think about how you're going to avoid this sort of behavior in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you, as soon as you become public property, you become open to this sort of thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I want to go back. So I think that the online stuff brings up a lot of really interesting challenges, right? Like the contact form that you brought up is fascinating. I think that's a really, really good point, because what a person's trying to do is act and contact you, but yet you're putting all these impediments to contacting you, right? They can't call you immediately. They have to jump through all these hoops in order to
That's
contact you. And I think that that's a really good point. What other types of things online that you think are kind of that people need to be wary of when they look at their website, or generally?
Well, one other example that I had with a client who was very customer centric, I have to say, they were doing a great job. And it seems to be that people that hire me are already doing a great job and want to be even better.
Right.
But in this case, it was so funny because they contacted me and I thought, I'm going to contact their call center and just see how they react.
Right.
And they were manufacturers of food products.
Mm-hmm.
So when consumers were using their products, it was at meal times. When I called their call center, it was open between 9 and 12 and between 2 and 6.
Oh,
But when do you want to cook your meals? It's first thing in the morning, at lunchtime, and in the evening.
right.
So when consumers had problems with their products and called up for advice,
Right.
there was no one to talk to. So again, a
Mm,
very simple thing. And
right.
this was a company that was customer centric. And when I mentioned it to them, they really laughed and they said, of course, we had business hours. We didn't have customer hours. So then
That's a
they,
super simple thing.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they then were open. I think They arranged so that the people that were managing the call centers, they worked from home, and they worked, I think, between something like 6 or 7 in the morning till 10, and then over lunchtime, and then they were open maybe from 6 until 8 or 9 in the evening. So these are simple things, but it all comes back. If you think about your customer first, what would they do? What do they need? It's so easy to do, and it
Mm-hmm.
makes, I'm always surprised how people have so many problems
Mm-hmm.
in thinking customer first. It's,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, it's like they take off, we take off our consumer hat when we walk into the office.
Mm-hmm. I think that that's right. I think you forget that in Microsoft, they would call them user scenarios. So it's like you walk in, you log onto your computer, you're trying to do a mail merge. So what's the first thing to do? So you're kind of anticipating how that person is interacting with your product, and what what is happening when they are interacting with your product. What are the steps that they take? Where do they naturally go so that you can actually make it easier to find everything? So I can see that, and that's why I think some of the things you talk about data analytics that's so interesting now is that you can see with websites where people go, where they don't go, what the like they're trying to, like, literally you can look at the click through pattern, like where they click on your website. So they click onto your website, they go over to your whatever page that they want, then they go over to contact you, and then like they don't contact you. So you think, well, something's happening in that whole scenario because we don't have a lot of emails that we get, but yet I can see that people get there. So something is happening. So that's the cool thing about data analytics. But you had made I saw some of your blog posts. Do you think that is that data being used appropriately? Can people be smarter about the way that they're using their data analytics? And if so, how?
Oh, we can always be smarter. I think
Right.
there's two things that I think where I find with my clients the most problem. I think the first is they don't integrate information. They have a lot more information than they actually realize they have.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I get contacted by a company and they say, oh, we want to do research to find out this, I say, no, let's have a look. What have you already got in terms of information? And maybe it's in different departments.
Mm.
When I started working with one client, I found that they had bought the same report 26 times. Now, obviously, the
Wow.
person selling the report didn't say anything, and they
Right.
bought it at full price, whereas they could have negotiated. If they really needed 26 copies, they
Right.
could have negotiated a lower price.
Right.
But it was being bought by different departments. So
Mm.
they had bought a lot of data. So the first thing is, if you need to know something, ask in the company who's got that data, who might need that data.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next thing is to integrate. Don't treat information in isolation. Look at all the different areas around data. And the most important of all, and the example you gave is a good illustration of this, you have to understand why. The data will tell you what, but a lot of times it won't tell you why. So in your
Mm.
case, we can look at click through, we can look at where the eye is traveling on an advertisement or online, but then we have to understand why. And quite often it will mean going and talking to consumers about it. Why did they stop? If we don't know why they stopped, we know there's a problem. As you said, they get to a certain point and then they leave the website. Why did they leave?
Mm-hmm.
Was there something they were scared about, or they realized this company couldn't help them, or they were just about to click? I mean, the number of people that abandon a shopping cart, um, I can't remember what the statistics are, but there's a huge proportion of people just before they click that buy, they hesitate.
Right. So why
And then
did they?
I
Yeah.
have to say, is it the best price? Is it really what I want, etc.?
Right.
So maybe I need to do some more research.
Right.
So again, this is a way, by looking at the data, we can see, okay, they got to buying the product, they didn't make that last click. Why?
Right.
Find out why they were hesitating. Perhaps it just means that you need to put more information on your sales page, or maybe it was just too complicated to buy from you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there were too many forms and too much information to put online. I mean, Amazon, I have to say, they're a great company as far as customer experience is concerned, but they now have this one click.
Hmm.
So if you bought from them in the future, you can just click one button. One thing I would suggest to them, if anybody from Amazon is listening to this,
Right.
because I made the mistake yesterday, is the add to my cart and buy with one click are two buttons side by side. And I clicked on the wrong one last night. So I had to
Oh,
quickly go in and cancel my order. Luckily, it
right.
hadn't gone
Right.
because, again, they're customer centric and they do respond to customers very quickly.
Right.
But I realized that within a few minutes I clicked the wrong button because it didn't come to the
Right.
shopping cart. It said, "Thank you for your purchase," and I went,
Right.
"Oh, I didn't mean to
Right,
purchase."
which I'm sure Amazon has probably researched. Like they probably see like how many times do people click on that button and then click on another button to return it immediately. And so like they probably looked at just having been at Microsoft, they probably looked at it said there are not enough people to do that to justify fixing this feature because someone's going to have to redesign the UI and who knows what's going to break by the time we redesign that UI. I mean, Amazon is rare. I've only had fabulous customer service with Amazon. What are the other companies that you think have really great customer first strategies?
Well, they are really fantastic. I mean, another one that I do admire is Zappos because
Hmm.
they really think customer first. And as with Amazon, I have a feeling sometimes that Tony Hsieh, their CEO, follows what Jeff Bezos does and then does the same because
Right.
they provide sometimes fast delivery when you've only ordered standard delivery.
Mm.
They're very good at taking things back, as Amazon does.
Mm-hmm.
And again, what I like about these companies is they ask why you're returning it, not,
Mm-hmm.
oh, why are you returning it? Because you're
Right.
not really supposed to, and that's
Right.
going to upset us.
Right.
It's why are you returning it? Did we not give you a clear explanation of the product, or is the sizing wrong? Or they want to know so they can
Mm.
do a better job next time. And
Mm.
that's what makes the difference is they want to understand their customers all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, for most companies, the customer's changing constantly. We're in
Mm-hmm.
a world that changes thanks primarily to technology, but also we've become used to change
Mm-hmm.
and we love change and we love innovation. So we're always looking for new things, new toys to play with, new ideas. And
Right.
it makes it difficult to know the customer because as soon as you know where they are, they've moved on.
Right.
So this is why it's so important to regularly talk, watch, listen to your customer because if you think you understand them, they've already changed.
On that happy note, any other last words? Can you hold up your book too so folks can see your book too? So if you actually want to actually step through the process, winning customer centricity, Denyse Drummond-Dunn, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. And if folks want to reach you, because either they want to get the book or say, oh, I want to actually have her step me through stuff because she's going to be able to. Here's what I'm picking up from this whole conversation. There are a bunch of simple things, but you don't see them until someone comes in and says, "Oh, why don't you do this?" And they're like, "Oh, I just didn't like I didn't know." Like, even and there's simple things, but you need an outside person to come in, I think, to just highlight things. Are a lot of the ideas that you have in that book?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as I said, I made it for the corporate business world because I used to have tens of books on my shelves I never had time to read. So
Right.
this is why when I designed the book, I said, okay, we've all got too much to read. And that was, now we've got internet as well as everything else we have
Right.
to read. It had to be a quick read. It had to be a fun read, which is why I added the cartoons, the quotations. But I have an objective for the week, the actions to take, and already I give examples and ideas from other companies. So
Love
you
it.
don't even have to think that much to put it into
I
action.
love it.
You can
Okay.
immediately take action.
And tell us about your website for folks who want to actually go and look at your website.
My website, thank you for asking, CJ, is c3centricity.com. And you can go online, you can book. I have some offers for some free ebooks. I do strategy sessions if people don't really know where they need to make improvements. And I also have an evaluator tool that people can ask to access, and that gives them exactly which area they need to work on most if they don't know which area they're struggling with.
Right. Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So it sounds like you have some really good information on your website. Thank you so much.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.